of development, because when you start using development to do campaigns, then it means you're facing a very likely possibility of what happened to Tuju in Arieda a few years back when he was a member of parliament. So you actually go and do development, but because you're politicizing it and people there don't support your political position, they don't accept it.
But what evidence do you have that there is no working relationship between the president and his deputy? And if that is the case, is this an administration that should be allowed to proceed and go forward? Is it time to dissolve the cabinet, for instance?
No, two things. First and foremost, there's nothing in the law that says that the deputy president and the president must have a working relationship. Remember, the deputy president
but they must work.
No, there's nothing the deputy president is supposed to do. The deputy president's role is to be a principal assistant of the president and to do those errands or assignments that he's given by the president. That actually foresees...
He's irrelevant?
Yeah, but for all intents and purposes, a deputy president in most circumstances is irrelevant unless there's a crisis. So if you have, because the president is the one who's answerable. He's a commander-in-chief. Remember, there's no assistant commander-in-chief. The president is the one. The reason we have a deputy president is in case something happens to the president. There's no particular assignment, constitutional assignment that the deputy president is given. His only role is to be the principal assistant. And if you understand the meaning of the word assistant, he's meant to assist the president. Meaning, you're supposed to be given assignments by the president and assist him. There's no way you have your own agenda unless the president gives you a ministry.
Why should a government that is at dysfunction at that level continue to sit as presently constituted? We've already seen, but there is dysfunction.
How?
For instance, you've already said that the top two are not working together. But couple add to that the fact that we also saw in the cabinet just months ago, you know, the talk of allegations of assassination that literally split the cabinet in half. Part of it being accused of having being part of a group that is plotting the assassination of the deputy president. In that kind of dysfunction, is that a government that should continue and that could actually deliver on the pledges that it made Kenyans?
I think there's a mistake you're making, Anne. The deputy president is not the government.
He's a part of it.
Yes, but he's just a part of it. If we were having a problem between the president and cabinet secretaries, remember the deputy president doesn't have a role that he's playing. He doesn't have a particular assignment. He doesn't have a ministry. So there's nothing actually he does. So the fact that he's unhappy about what's going on in government, the fact that he thinks that people are meeting to kill him, doesn't in any way affect how government operates.
Should the president keep him if they're not talking?
I think that's a decision that the president has to make.
What is your opinion?
I think I am seeing a very rebellious person to the president. If I was the president, I don't think I would figure out how to ask him to shape up or shape out. But I'm not the president.
All right. Let's talk about Central Kenya politics, and we've seen that split playing out. Has President Kenyatta lost control of Central Kenya, do you think?
Absolutely
Has he lost his grip?
Not possible.
Why is there then such a fierce struggle for what you called on your Facebook page, quote, the fight for the political soul of our region? Why would there be a fight for it if he's in control?
There is a fight for the political soul of our region for this purpose. Mount Kenya region has 6 million votes. Politics is about numbers. Now, if Mount Kenya as a bloc votes for any presidential candidate in 2022, you're like over halfway across the finishing line. But if Mount Kenya as a bloc votes against you in 2022, you're not going anywhere. So what I'm seeing is that, remember, first and foremost, the deputy president was operating on the assumption that he already had the Mount Kenya bloc until maybe a year ago. And the way he did it, when you walk around with the assumption that this is my region, this is my bloc, and then all of a sudden, some of us wake up and tell you, there's no guarantee that you're actually going to get this region the way you think. So now we are back into a fight because we have some members of the deputy president's team already out there saying this region belongs to the deputy president. We have some of us who are insisting, no, this region hasn't changed. It still belongs to Uhuru Kenyatta until he's finished with his term, and most probably a few years after that.
But we've never seen such a fierce challenge of the president in the Mount Kenya region as we are now. We've got leaders saying that they are not getting development. We have got, almost what appears to be all-out war between, different factions
or sections. Let me take you back, because this is, I hear people saying that and feeling very shocked. I think it's because we have very short political memories. Matiba and Kibaki in the 90s had something very similar.
That was not against President Kenyatta, which is my point.
Yes, but you see, at that moment in time, we didn't have a president. We didn't have a president from our region. Right now, what we have is a president from our region, and that's what makes us, of those of us who call ourselves K24, so upset, because we have a president. What are we fighting about? We have a president, because in the 90s, we were fighting to get into the presidency. Now, we are in the presidency. We are fighting to take over the presidency. And we're asking ourselves, how are we fighting to take over a presidency that we already have? At what point do we as Mount Kenya region start fighting to take over this presidency?
Why,
it already belongs to us. Do you not find it
problematic to refer to the president as something that the Mount Kenya region has? Regardless of where he comes from, he's the president of everyone. So why speak in such terms to take over a presidency that we already have, as if it is
because I'm a politician,
a little something that you put in?
Because I'm a politician for Mount Kenya, I was elected to represent the interests of Nyeri town, which is a section of Mount Kenya. Our interests are very specific. If I came from Western, I would be saying something different. If I came from the coast, I would be saying something different. If you come from Rift Valley right now, if you look at the members of parliament from Rift Valley, their conversation is about, we are the ones who are taking it over. So that's the problem with our politics, and that's the reality that we have to face up. Our politics is very ethnic, and we just figure, we just have to learn.
Are you not perpetuating that same ethnic politics?
You see,
and
a politician is a realist
of the presidency?
A politician has to be a realist. You cannot pretend to what is not there. Right now, we have a situation where, why we had the handshake and the country come down is because when Raila shook hands with Uhuru, the section that believed Uhuru was not their president accepted him. That is a reality of our politics.
Why is Central Kenya politics taking a violent turn?
I think first and foremost, we're getting intolerant, which is very sad. I think we're seeing a lot of intolerance, but a lot of that is because leaders on both sides believe they have a responsibility of determining what direction the people who voted for them should go. Now, is that a correct thing? I don't actually completely agree with it, but that is
and yet you perpetuate it. Yet you're the same person who goes out and has your supporters stop a cabinet secretary from launching a water project.
Actually, that's not true.
In the region, you're the same person whose supporters go out and stop a women's movement, regardless of whom they're supporting, from having their event.
That's the problem.
And then write and say we are not going to allow 2022 politics
that's
in
the problem.
Our region.
First and foremost, I never stopped a CS from launching a project. I arranged that meeting. I mobilized for that meeting. I'm the one who had paid for everything you saw in that meeting. The CS launched the project, 200 million shillings, which was money that was given by Uhuru Kenyatta's government.
He was jeered away.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was.
He was jeered when he tried to play politics. But actually, for those who followed that story and the locals who come from Nyeri, they know that the jeers stopped. I stopped the jeering.
When you stood on the platform and he had to walk away.
No, I actually called him and he spoke. And he finished speaking, and when he finished speaking and wanted to do politics again, I told him, Bwana CS, we're here because of this project. We will not do politics. If you're done, the meeting is finished.
What about the event that was for the women rep of the area, and she was supported by other leaders? Granted, this is the Inua Mama movement, which lobbies for the deputy president. Alice Wahome, the Kandara legislator who was one of the speakers at the event, went ahead to say, quote, he tried to intimidate us, he being you.
Yes.
But we gave him a rude welcome, and they were pointing to the fact that first the meeting was disrupted by a bunch of young people who were irate.
Actually, no.
Then you come in and you stand there defiantly.
How do you...
You stood there defiantly, refused to move.
This is a problem.
And this was not your event, and your presence there was seen as intimidation of those women.
That was a public event. Two, it was not a women's event. They were giving mechanics jackets. They were giving some people we call bebas.
It was organized by Inua Dad.
It was organized by
Inua Mama.
Inua Mama. Yes, it was organized by Inua Mama. It was in my constituency. I don't think anybody expects that you do a public event in Nyeri Town constituency and I cannot attend. That's the first thing. Remember, I'm the elected member.
But it wasn't your meeting. It doesn't matter.
It's not about being a meeting. It was their meeting. Nothing stops me from attending unless it was not a private function. It was a public function. I went for that meeting as one of the people who come from Nyeri.
In this sort of heated political atmosphere, when you have a bunch of young people jeering down the leaders who are there, who for all intents and purposes were holding a peaceful meeting.
Actually, they were not being jeered by young people, they were being jeered by women.
Fair enough, whether they were, whoever it was, sponsored, allegedly by yourself in order to cause that commotion. But you have separately gone on to say that you're not going to allow politics to take part in Nyeri Town. What gives you the authority to make a statement like that?
What gives me the authority is because if you're going to come and have a political event in Nyeri Town constituency, I will attend it. And I will tell you to your face that this is the wrong time to be doing premature politics. Why? Because I do not want you to split Nyeri Town constituency into camps. I will tell you now, that's my right. It's a freedom of expression.
Is that the same thing Dindinyoro did the other day in
Actually,
in
no, because first and foremost, it wasn't a political event we were in. Remember, Dada was a political event. The CS's event was a political, well, that one. the CS's event was a political event. What we saw with Dindinyoro, and I was in that event, was actually a church event that he interrupted. And I'm glad to hear today that he actually went back to the same place and he apologized. I actually think he did an extremely good job.
Let me read this quote and just put it to you again, because I would like to get a definitive answer of what exactly it is you are saying. You have said, I'm sorry, but 2022 Siasa in Nyeri constituency at this time is no. And I am asking, what gives you the right to dictate that it is a no at this point in a democratic society where people are free to listen to whatever they want to listen to? If you disagree with what they are saying, why attend and cause commotion?
I don't cause commotion.
Your presence certainly brings something.
My statement is that if you come to Nyeri, I will attend that event.
With the sole purpose of shouting them down and
no,
telling them
but I never shout anybody down. I have never shouted anybody down.
Well, you always bring it to a standstill.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
You see, the assumption here is where you told me I walked in and I did what to the women?
I beg your pardon?
There's a word you used about that I walked into that meeting and did something.
You caused a commotion.
I didn't cause a commotion. I drove into that meeting myself, a driver and a security officer.
Actually, no. Who were those men surrounding you?
I had one driver, one security person. I had police officers surrounding me who were in that event.
No, but there were also others. There were locals.
But those were people from that, the people who were in that meeting. You see, that's the other difference. The people who were in that meeting are the same people who elected me. And I was elected by 7 out of every 10 people in Nyeri Town constituency. Meaning that if I'm going to go into a meeting, there's no way I'm going to miss support of mine. Whether or not it's you who has actually called the meeting.
Let us conclude it this way. Do you accept that whether the president said it or not, he doesn't want people to campaign, and granted you said it brings division, that this is a democratic country and people can campaign from Monday to Monday if they choose to do so, and that no leader should have to go and try to attempt to physically stop them? It is their right to do so.
But nobody physically stops them.
What do you call it when people dash either to a podium or grab mics from someone, or when there's pushing and shoving? What do you call that?
I don't support that at all. Mine is a very simple statement. If you come and do politics in Nyeri Town constituency, I will attend and I will tell you, because you can't stop me from speaking in Nyeri Town constituency.
Yet you're quite keen to stop others.
No, I've never stopped anyone from speaking.
We'll take a break and we're back with Ngunjiri Wambogo after this. Stay with us.
Furahia mara twice na Tatua Bonus Bonanza. Shinda shilingi 50,000 au zaidi kushiriki ndani ya Tatua Bonus Bonanza. Upate nafasi ya kushinda cash bonus ya hadi shilingi 100,000 au zawadi bonus kama fridge, cooker, TV, microwave au home theater system. Cheza Tatua Tatu sasa, ufurahia mara twice. Ingia M-Pesa, chagua paybill number 150 150. Chagua nambari zako tatu za ushindi kati ya 0 hadi 9. Fuatanisha na win. Kaba account number, wekelea beti ya kiasi cha shilingi 10 hadi shilingi 1,000. Zikilingana, unajishindia shilingi 300,000 baada ya dakika 30.
Over 18s only. Gaming can be addictive. Play responsibly. This message has been brought to you by the Betting Control and Licensing Board.
Nalimanga viazi, ng'ombe na biashara kidogo. Asubuhi nilikuwa nimeita msichana wangu nikamwambia niko na 160 kwa account, nataka tucheze loto. Sasa tukaweka zote tatu na sijui ni gani ilishida. Usiku saa 3 nikapigiwa simu. Wakaniambia mimi ni mshindi wa 1.6 million. Nilishtuka, halafu watoto wakaniuliza, "Mama, kwani umeshinda roto?" Nikamwambia nimeshinda. Sikuwa naamini. Kwanza nitoe fungu la 10 nimwambie Bwana asante.
Asante sana Loto, tuzidi pamoja.
Win every day with Lotto. Play now for a chance to win a guaranteed 100,000 shillings in the Super Sunday draw tonight. Plus, get a free chance to win over 1 million shillings on Wednesday. Cheza to Zidi Pamoja. Send 50 shillings to paybill 77700. Account ni K24. Over 18s only. Gaming can be addictive. Play responsibly. This message has been approved by the BCLB.
The Habu Lands Limited brings you a unique offer in real estate investment, the Habu Plains Matu. This residential property touches the Garissa Highway tarmac just after Matu town, and there exists water and electricity connection. We are selling an 1/8 acre for an introductory offer amount of 385,000 shillings only. The Habu Plains Matu is a gated community estate with well-graded roads and a secure gate and perimeter fence. This is a rare opportunity to acquire clean land with great development potential that has secure title deeds. Call us today on 0711 082 110 or 0707 177 177 to book a plot and for a site visit. The Habu Lands Limited, your reliable investment partner.
Msay, niaje buda?
Oh, what a feeling, my whole world is changing. Woke up, I was feeling down, but now I'm not complaining. Thanks to my 5 lucky numbers, you too can win if you enter Super 5 and feel super like me. I'm feeling super, Naskia super. I'm feeling super, Naskia super, yeah.
Hii ndio njia rahisi ya kufeel super. Enda nyumbani na mara 10,000 ya pesa ulizowekeza, bet shilingi 20 tu, ulinganishe namba 2, 3, 4 ama 5, ushinde hadi shilingi 1,200 in the next 10 minutes. Nenda kwenye paybill number 299555 kwenye account number, chagua namba zako 5 za bahati kati ya 0 na 9 zikifuatiwa na neno win. Chagua pesa utakazowekeza kati ya shilingi 20 na 1,000. Over 18s only. Gaming can be addictive. Play responsibly. This message has been approved by the BCLB.
And welcome back to Punchline. Thank you for staying with us. Still in the ring is Ngujiri Wambugu, the Nyeri Town Member of Parliament. And Ngujiri, you know, you were seen to be very much an ODM insider during the 2013 election, and that was a past life. Those were your past allegiances. And at that time, you were infamous as part of a lobby group called Kikuyus for Change that campaigned against Uhuru Kenyatta at that time. Things changed later. Kenyatta wins. You go ahead to dump ODM, join Jubilee, get elected on a Jubilee party ticket. Why that change? What persuaded you from being, you know, so positively against him to switching allegiances?
Learning. Life is a learning process. You don't know everything at every given time. And as you grow older, you learn stuff. And one of the things that had happened, when I was, actually Kikuyus for Change was not a lobby group for ODM. It was a lobby group that began in 2007, after the post-2007 elections.
Violence, right?
And it was meant, we were trying to push what we were calling positive ethnicity, because 2007 was a result of negative ethnicity. I've been a supporter of positive ethnicity for a long time. The fact that you need to accept that I am Kikuyu, but that doesn't mean that it stops you from being whatever you are. And it doesn't mean that I respect you any less. But this thing of trying to pretend we don't have cultural differences brings a lot of our problems. So I did Kikuyus for Change, and then because of how I had done it, I actually got approached by the Raila Odinga Presidential Secretariat to work for them. So I went and became the Political Affairs Director. Interestingly, I keep hearing people saying I was in ODM, but I worked in that presidential campaign for 11 months. I was not in ODM before, I was not in ODM after. I worked for 11 months for the presidential campaign. At the end of that election in March 2013, I left. And I ran...
You said it's about learning. What did you learn?
I learned a couple of things. It was, when I started Kikuyus for Change, I was very idealistic. I actually believed it was possible for us to go beyond our ethnic divides and into that nationhood, Kenya identity that I thought was where we needed to be. When I joined ODM, I remember telling people, I walked into ODM a Kenyan, I walked out a Kikuyu. And
you walked into ODM a Kenyan?
I walked out a Kikuyu. Because now I was in a place where I assumed that we had all the other communities and we were all working together to be Kenyan. And I realized that even there, the ethnic identities were very stark. I had people there telling me, but when I'm Kikuyu, nafanya nini?
In ODM?
Yes. What are you doing here? And by the time that campaign was over, I was like, you know what? Whether we like it or not, we are going to have to fix where we are. And part of that was me leaving ODM and thinking I'm going to go into Central Province and I'm actually going to work in Central Province and try and get us to move into that next step. Because I had learned many things. I had learned how political campaigns are done. I had learned what other people think about us. Because part of the problem we have in Central Province, we don't move around a lot. So we don't interact as much with other communities. So you don't get to hear the opinions they have of you. Now, having been in ODM for those 11 months and gone down the country in a campaign trail, as a member of ODM but as a Kikuyu, I got to hear what people were saying about Kikuyus. And I was like, I remember when I finished that campaign, I went and looked for a group that was called Mount Kenya Foundation. And I told them, guys, we have a problem. We have to figure out how we are going to create a platform for all of us to work in this country. Because the rest of the country seems to have a problem with Kikuyus. And that is the lesson I learned.
Is that platform created through constitutional change that creates a larger executive that can accommodate very deliberately leaders from different regions?
That was my proposal to the Building Bridges initiative when they came to Nyeri. Is that the only way that we can do this? I don't know. What I do know is that we must create a platform that creates an inclusive structure of government. Why? Because right now we have two positions. I don't know if you remember during the first term of Uhuru and Ruto, the biggest complaint that CORD then had before they became NASA was that this government belongs to two communities. And it was not really a realistic position because in the government we had cabinet secretaries from Nyanza, we had cabinet secretaries from Western, we had cabinet secretaries from Northeastern, we had people from all over the country. But because the president and the deputy president were Kikuyu and Kalenjin, it was actually easy to sell the narrative that the government belonged to two communities. Now, it didn't matter whether the